Welcome to Bond in 007, wherein I attempt to explain the plot of a James Bond movie in less than 7 minutes. It sounds much easier than it is, since the plot in a Bond film is secondary at best. The story is not the memorable part of any of the films, and honestly, for good reason. Because there are 25 films in the franchise, counting Never Say Never Again, but not counting No Time to Die, as it's going to just keep being delayed until the sun burns out, I've decided there's no need to go through the movies in any particular order. The stories aren't particularly chronological anyway, with the exception of the Daniel Craig movies where each one does build on the one before it, but I'll deal with that when I get there. So for now, I'll just cover the films as I feel like doing them, and I'll start with one of my favorites, The Living Daylights. The movie begins in a traditional cold open style as M explains to a trio of 00 agents that they are entering into a training exercise with the SAS, which is basically British Special Forces. The agents are attempting to halo jump onto the SAS radar base on the island of Gibraltar. Because this is simply a training exercise, all of the weapons are paintball guns, except for the one that isn't. And everyone involved is a member of Her Majesty's military, except the one that isn't. Bond sees this mannequin fall to its death and quickly pieces together that someone has infiltrated the exercise. A very Bondian chase ensues with James atop the bad guy's getaway vehicle. A nice product placement for J&B Scotch as the car smashes through some tourist areas before careening off of the mountainside, and Bond escapes with his parachute that I guess he had time to perfectly repack after landing his halo jump. Where does he land? Well, on the yacht of a pretty lady, of course. After all, he is
Bond, James Bond.
Title sequence as the theme by a-ha plays. That's right, they are more than just Take On Me. I really like this theme, and I would play it, but I've only got 7 minutes, and it's like 4 minutes long. Bratislava, Czechoslovakia. Bond goes to an orchestral performance attended by KGB General Georgy Koskov. The general is not the target, however, as he is betraying the Soviets and defecting to the UK. As you can imagine, his current employers aren't super stoked about that and have sent an assassin to kill Koskov, and that is who Bond is after. He's unable to bring himself to kill the sniper because she is, you guessed it, a pretty lady, and also, not for nothing, the cellist from the orchestra. They are still able to spirit Koskov away and shoot him across the Soviet border inside the Trans-Siberian pipeline. Saunders is a big nerd who threatens to tell M about Bond intentionally sparing the life of the sniper. He does tell M because, as previously mentioned, Saunders is a nerd. There's a quick scene at Q Branch that isn't actually germane to the plot, but in some of the films they use Q to get some silly sight gags, like this boombox that is a rocket launcher, and Q calls it
Ghetto Blaster.
Koskov is taken to an MI6 safe house out in the country where he divulges the secret plan of General Pushkin to kill the 00 agents. The safe house is infiltrated by the very cool henchman Nekros, who kills people with his headphones and also exploding milk. Nekros rules. Koskov is re-abducted by the KGB after Nekros changed from his clever milkman disguise to his clever doctor disguise, which mainly just consists of a stethoscope. M gives Bond a kill order for Pushkin and shows him a note that was left with the dummy that he saw fall off of Gibraltar. It says, Smirt Spionem, which I'm positive I am mispronouncing, but I am not Russian, so I think I have a pretty good excuse. It means death to spies, and this supports Koskov's claim that Pushkin is out to kill the 00s. There's another Q gag where a couch eats a guy. James returns to Bratislava to find the cello sniper. He grabs her cello case after she's snatched up by the old guy from Sliders, who also happens to be General Pushkin in this movie. Inside the case is her sniper rifle, along with blanks that she was going to use to only pretend to shoot at Koskov because, get ready to have your minds blown, Koskov is her boyfriend, and his defection to the West was fake and just a way for him to escape the KGB. And now that Bond knows that Koskov's defection was fake, he tricks the cellist, whose name is Kara, into coming with him by telling her that he's come to reunite her with her boyfriend. There is a very excellent car chase filled with gadgets that becomes an even better cello chase as James and Kara cascade down a snowy mountain using the cello as a rudder. It is very stupid. It's great. Tangier. General Pushkin meets the arms dealer Brad Whitaker to cancel a secret order that was made by Koskov without the approval of the KGB. Speaking of Georgy, he's alive and well in Tangier on Whitaker's compound with his abductor Nekros, because not only was Koskov's defection fake, but so was his kidnapping from the MI6 safe house. He, Nekros, and Whitaker are in cahoots. And double swerves like this are exactly why someone has to make YouTube videos explaining these movies. The plots are insane. In the one singular cool thing that nerd Saunders ever did, he helps James by finding a link between Koskov and Whitaker, and in the probably millionth cool thing Nekros did, he cut Saunders in half with a sliding glass door. Bond believes Saunders' death is yet another case of Smertspionum, and he confronts Pushkin. Pushy explains that he is also on the hunt for Koskov, who was stealing KGB money to spend on Whitaker's guns. To get Yorgi out of hiding, the two team up and fake the Pushman's death. In his escape, James is picked up by a couple of party girls who turn out to be American agents and take him to meet Jack's dad from Lost, who in this movie is Felix Leiter. And Felix is basically James' American counterpart. This guy in particular is a terrible Felix, by the way. After learning from Saunders, RIP, that Koskov may be with Whitaker, Kara contacts him and he convinces Kara that Bond is actually a KGB agent. Kara helps drug James and they disguise themselves as a medical team, moving the unconscious man out of the country as a heart transplant patient, and inside the cooler, hidden among the ice, are smuggled diamonds, because why not? Let's add diamonds to the story. Afghanistan. Kara quickly realizes she backed the wrong horse after she's sent to jail along with James. I'd say that's a pretty good clue that your boyfriend sucks. He escapes, because of course he does, and also frees a fellow inmate and member of the local Mujahideen. Remember, this was the 80s, so that didn't mean what it meant later. At the time, Afghan jihadis were fighting the Russian occupation of Afghanistan, so the international dynamics were a little different, to say the least. Who the government decided was the good guys and the bad guys was a little bit different than it would be now, per se. The Afghans help the couple escape and take them to their encampment. Bond and Kara accompany the rescuers to a trade deal with Koskov, and the screenplay saved the most convoluted part for the last 30 minutes of the movie. And here is my best shot at summarizing it. Koskov took the diamonds from the KGB to buy weapons from Whitaker. Instead, he's buying opium from the Afghans. Now his plan is to sell the opium for way more than the value of the diamonds, then use some of that opium money to make the original weapons purchase for the KGB, and then he ends up with a profit. Except for the opium and guns, it's basically a Zach Morris scheme. Bond hides a bomb inside one of the opium bags to destroy the shipment and Koskov's plan. When he's discovered, 007 commandeers the plane and takes to the sky, but not before Kara and Nekros both hop aboard. Kara pilots the plane, albeit terribly, but I mean, she's a cellist, not a pilot, so it's not entirely her fault. While James and Nekros fight hanging out the back of the plane on a cargo net. James wins the fight, because of course he does. Bond recovers his bomb and uses it to help his newfound friends on his way out. Pushkin and Bond return to Whitaker's base, and James squashes the fake military man with a statue. Koskov, upon seeing that the rumors of Pushkin's demise were greatly exaggerated, lies and says he was being held captive by Whitaker. This is especially insane, considering that he can see Bond standing right there. The KGB general tells his men to put Koskov on a plane back home.
In the diplomatic bag.
If you enjoyed this, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. If you have a recommendation for which movie I should do next, drop it in the comments. All suggestions will be considered. I have a lot more to go, so stay tuned for the next Bond in 007.